Hello, I'm Jutta Treviranus, and I'm the founder and director of the Inclusive Design Research Center, and I want to talk to you about counting. With the rise of the power tools of data science, we're counting more and more aspects of our lives, and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. On the train ride here, I sat beside someone in charge of data analytics at a large company, and he told me he measured each employee's every movement to find greater efficiencies no human would have thought of. I've been very worried about what happens to small minorities, unique individuals, or outliers in decisions based on these numbers. Generally, when we're measuring, the bigger the number, the better. Businesses want to reach the largest customer base. Governments want to invest in measures that benefit the largest number of voters. And if you're vying for attention, you want the largest number of likes, even in the social media, Twitter. And your interest is drawn to the highest scores. Our expectations regarding the size of the number keeps rising. Counting even determines such fundamental qualities as truth and worth. If you claim that something is true, as a researcher, you want the largest number of consistent measures, and to qualify as evidence, it must be measurable. Often only that which can be counted is attributed worth or value, and the higher the number, the better. In 2016, I discovered that our artificial intelligence systems amplify and automate this bias towards large numbers to an alarming effect. I was able to test several machine learning models designed to guide automated vehicles through intersections. They tell the car to stop, change direction, or proceed. I decided to test them with someone unexpected. I have a friend who very efficiently propels her wheelchair backwards with her feet. Her movements are erratic but effective, and people in the intersection often assume that she's lost control and try to push her back onto the curb she came from. All the machine learning models chose to run her over. The developers assured me that the models were immature, not smart enough, and I should come back when they had been exposed to more data regarding people in wheelchairs and intersections. When I came back to test the smarter models, they chose to run my friend over with greater confidence. They were confident, based on the data, that people in wheelchairs move forward. I realized that artificial intelligence makes manifest a bias that has always been there, our human inability to deal with diversity and complexity. If you were to take all the needs of everyone here in this room and plot them on a multivariate scatter plot, you would have a starburst. There would be a dense cluster in the middle with about 80% of the needs taking up 20% of the space. The remaining 20% of the needs would be scattered over the remaining 80% of the space. This is called the normal distribution, a phenomenon Pareto discovered to arrive at his 80-20 rule. The data elements in the middle would be close together or more similar. The data elements as you move from the middle would be further and further apart or more diverse. As a consequence, you'll also find that designs of almost everything work for the needs in the middle, are difficult as you move from the middle, and don't work if your needs are at the edge, where there are no economies of scale. This is in large part thanks to the 80-20 rule, which says to focus on the 80% that take up 20% of the effort and ignore the difficult 20% that occupy the edges. So what happens if you're a small number? If the value you create is not quantifiable, if what you want or need is not popular, if the government program that is essential to you does not benefit many voters, if the products you depend on only have a tiny market, you will likely discover that you do not count or you do not measure up. Your efforts won't be valued. Think of the innumerable caregivers and their essential roles and how they are enumerated. The things you say will receive little attention. Who pays attention at the painful indignities of dying with a rare, incurable illness? The programs you depend upon will be defunded. Ask the many people who experience low-incidence disabilities, whose critical services are at the mercy of political whims or evidence-based governance by the numbers. The products and services you will need will be hard to find, and if you find them, they will cost more and be less reliable. Have you ever gone shopping for information or services in small minority languages? Because you're an anomaly, security system will perceive you as a threat. Try going through airport security with a declared gender that doesn't match your physical parts. You may find yourself in a vicious cycle of exponential injustice. Because you don't count for very much, you can't participate. Because you can't participate, you can't help define what counts, so you don't count. The impact of this creates a growing disparity that ripples through all our aspects of our society. Most of our counting requires sameness and conformity. Deviation discounts you. Advocacy groups fight for representation of an identity group with a well-defined and defended set of common characteristics. What if no one can represent your unique needs and characteristics? What if no one claims you as a counting member? Even our existing instruments of justice rely on being measured and counted. It's hard to measure equivalence when we have unbounded diversity. Judging or deciding demands clear sums. Possible relationships and imaginable futures have no total. Complexity is impervious to counting. The cyclical has no sum. We ignore the small numbers, the immeasurable, unbounded, at our peril. It is the rare small numbers that have the largest disruptive heft. Weak signals are the only warning signals we have of the most life-changing events. Not very many people populate the extreme edges or margins, but that is where true innovation can be found. We're all variable. Ignoring our differences has resulted in the dire consequences of treating humans as a mass. It means that the systems we design lacks flexibility, resilience, and responsiveness. Mass systems demand conformance and produce waste. They reduce the diversity that is our greatest asset and our key to survival. If we design with people that have needs at that outer edge, we benefit everyone. If we can't escape the seduction of large numbers, it should be noted that adding up all those small and diverse numbers that are discounted collectively and eventually comes to the biggest sum. The one prediction with the greatest probability is that we will all find ourselves at that outer edge. It will not cost more. And how should we measure, decide, and judge? Gandhi has been attributed with a great suggestion. The true measure of any society can be found in how we treat its most vulnerable members. When we make room for our differences and variability, we find a deeper commonality. Exposure to diversity guards against extremism and creates greater social equilibrium. Unless we include those small heterogeneous numbers and the frequently immeasurable numbers, we have a distorted truth. Our evidence is incomplete, and our blind spots occlude the most critical bits. If it takes large homogeneous numbers for us to pay attention, assign worth, and acknowledge truth, we're setting ourselves up for an impoverished and inhumane life. Difference and unbounded variability is a reality, and anything living should not be a digit. So count out to the edge. Thank you.